Very good afternoon to all of you. I, Dr. Sanjib Pattnaik, welcome all of you to our this particular session in the particular course that is Operations Management, coded as MMPO-003. We'll be moving into block 2 today, where our focus will be how to design the operations. That means how to have the processes, how to organize the processes. So, in that, the first of the unit 4 of our course is process and capacity analysis. When we are talking of the term process analysis, that means the way we are converting the set of inputs into the desired outputs in the form of good and services through a conversion system. That means we are processing the inputs to produce the desired goods and services as envisaged by the organization. Secondly, also we'll take a glance or look at the capacity. That means what should be the level of production of a organization, how much should be the production processes be installed to produce in a given period of time. This sort of things we will talk about in capacity analysis. So let us begin our session. Now let us introduce the term that we call as capacity planning. Capacity planning is a strategic component. Uh, Let us take an example. Uh, in our house, suppose we require uh, the geyser, suppose in the bathroom. Now, this geyser will be having different sizes, different volumes, maybe 1 liter, maybe half liter, maybe 4 liter, etc. Suppose we have gone for a 2 liter geyser when we had a small family. As time moves on and the family grows big, then we find the geyser that we have already installed in our washroom or the bathroom is not sufficient to provide enough the hot water to the family members. And if we go for changing that, it will cost us a huge amount or a big amount. And once fitted, we go on using it till its life at least. Maybe somebody may say that it is for 6 to 8 years. So always we say capacity planning is on a long-term basis of any organization. In other words, it is a strategic component of the organization. When we say capacity, it refers to the upper limit of process that can be handled in a given period of time. As we are talking about the geyser example, we saw that the installed geyser was of 2 liters. That means the maximum water that can be sent into the geyser by the pipelines and the geyser will hold and heat it up is 2 liters. So we say capacity is expressed as the upper limit of load any process can handle. Somebody will say that I will have 3 liter of water in my 2 liter geyser. No, it will overflow. Somebody may say that we will have half liter. That means you are uh, wasting the electric current, or you are paying more charges for heating the water. So this capacity is expressed in terms of units produced or services performed in a given period of time. For example, in any organization, we may say that suppose per day a organization produces uh, 200 finished units. That means in 24 hours, the organization produces 200 units. Now, we take the time frame into account so that it gives a better idea and helps us for comparison over time periods for the same organization, or while trying to compare with other competitor organizations. Similarly, services. In a bank, if we go there, how many checks are being processed in a bank? When we say that in a given period of time, that means the banking hour, what is the average number of checks that can be processed? So always we take into account the given period of time. Now this capacity is expressed for any plants, that means the machineries, departments, the machines, the stores, or a desired worker. Suppose we are talking of worker, we say the number of outputs by a worker is suppose 10 units per hour. That means the worker is able to produce 10 units in a given hour. Now, why capacity planning is important? Now, because it gives an idea about the gap between current and the desired capacity, which is the out of balance capacity. Uh, Currently, suppose we are producing 100 units. Our demand is suppose 250 units. That means we are not able to supply to match our demands. Take the other case. Our production per month suppose is 100 units, and the demand from the customer side is only 50 units. That means what is happening? We are having a higher capacity than we can be able to produce. So out of balance means the gap between the current and the desired capacity. So this leads to two things: overcapacity and undercapacity. Now, when we have a capacity setup that is higher than the demanded units, then we say we are overcapacity. That means our production facility is far too higher in terms of production as against the demanded units or demanded services. Now let us look at the opposite thing, that is the undercapacity. When we are talking of undercapacity, suppose our production is 100 units per unit of time, but our demand is 200 units per a given same unit of time. That means what? We have a capacity that is not able to match or meet the required demand in the marketplace for our products. So in under capacity, we may be having customers who will be moving to other competitors because our products are not available. So we may have lost revenues. So while going for capacity planning, we try to ask three basic questions. What kind of capacity we are going to have? How much capacity we are going to add? What is the time when the capacity will be added up? Yes. Now let us see what is this process selection. When we are talking about process selection, we know that a number of processes are available for producing any products. So when we are talking of the process, it is the way of producing goods or services and how they will be organized in the factory place. This process design and capacity planning join or go hand in hand and influence the system design, because according to our capacity needs, the processes available may be varying. So we take both into consideration, the process selection and the capacity planning. Now, when does this process selection decision arises? Now, this comes into the picture when the organization is planning for new products and services. Now, in order to produce new products or to perform new services, what are the processes available to us? Out of that, which one is the best according to our capacity requirements or the future capacity needs? Now, the decision also comes when there are technological changes. Technological advancement or changes may bring in lower operating cost as compared to the process, previous way of processing the items. So here we have to take a process selection decision. Another one is the competitive pressure. Now the competition from the competitors may force us to produce at a lower operating cost, maybe to produce at higher volume in order to supply more and more items to the market. So to tackle this competitive pressure, the need for process selection decision arises. Now, this process selection is mainly influenced by the process strategy, that is capacity intensity, and the process flexibility. Now, what are the different types of processes available to us in general, or what are the five basic types of processes? Here we have taken up five things: job sub, batch, repetitive or assembly lines, continuous, and the projects. So here I'll try to take one example. Let us see their characteristics. This little bit. All right. Uh, Let me explain the basic type of processes with certain example. Job sub. I will try to say about the characteristic in terms of variety as well as the volume of production. For job sub, let us take an example of tailoring shop. Nowadays, what happens when we go for purchasing shirts or pants or dresses, the jeans, etc., from a supermarket? Suppose we go there in the apparel section or the clothing section, we find various types of dresses are being shelved. There, you will find certain sizes like 32, 34, 36, 40, 42, etc. Suppose your waist is 39.25. Will that kind of thing be available in the shelf? No. Let us go to the tailoring shop. My waist is 39 point half inch, suppose. And the tailoring master or the tailor master will take the measurement, and he or she can produce accurately the required thing. And here the tailor master will prepare the dress after it gets the order from us or the customers. These are usually handcrafted, and the volume of output in a tailoring shop will be very low, because a few employees or a single or two persons will be employed in the tailoring shop, and they will be producing the items. So in JobSub, the items are produced according to the customer's order and requirement. The volume of production is very low, but variety wise it is very, very high. Whatever the variety you want, you can have it from the tailor master. Similarly, other examples you can take is fabricators. For window, steel fabrication, etc., you want to attach, they will prepare only after receiving your orders. Now come to the second one. What happens when the production becomes higher and higher, and the variety becomes standardized little bit? That means all of us want a little bit more standardized items, but volume of requirement to be satisfied is high. We say that we produce in batches. For example, let us take a chocolate factory, Cadbury's, suppose. It will be producing, let us take 50 varieties of chocolates, and it will be having maximum one or two or three plants across India. Uh, how do Cadbury's manage to produce this high volume with standardized variety or low variety? The answer is it produces in batches. Suppose today a batch of gems are produced, that means only gems chocolates will be produced. Tomorrow they may produce the five-star chocolates of bigger size. Maybe the next day they will be producing five-star chocolates of small sizes, etc. Each one is a different batch. Similarly, ready-made clothes are also produced in batches. Now, the third type of process is the assembly lines. Uh, these are usually found in the computers, the manufacturing of computers, mobile phones, the cars, bikes, etc. Take the example of car. If we can have a look at any car plant inside in any of the social media or any of the educational channels, we may find that the main body of the car, that means the chassis, will be brought into a certain conveyor belt first. The conveyor belt or the overhead cranes will be taking the particular chassis from one place to other in a serial manner. That means in a line format. Suppose in the first section the body is fitted. In the second section the engine will be fitted. In the third section the doors will be fitted. In the fourth section, suppose the wheels will be attached. That means what is happening here? These car companies, they will be depending on their suppliers or the vendors mainly to supply various kind of attachments. What they do to the main chassis or the body, they attach this required supplied item by vendors according to the quality to the respective chassis. That means here the standardization gets very high and the volume also remains high, and the item will be moving in a line format, and in the line various items or attachments will be fitted to the main body, and it will come out at the end of the line as a finished products. The same thing in computer manufacturing, in mobile manufacturing also. Come to the fourth one, continuous industry. Think of an iron and steel plant. What is the variety of production? We may say only two, the rods and the flats. But the volume of production is very, very high. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Continuously it will be running. The variety becomes very low, but volume is very high. And the last form of process, that means the basic type of process, is the project form. Sometimes we try to say project form is the bigger brother of job subs. In job subs, variety was very, very high, but volume was very low. In projects, let us take the example of a highway section between any two cities. Suppose the two cities are separated at around 30 kilometers. One cannot say that the highway between A and B of 30 kilometers, whatever is the project cost and whatever is the way it is designed, is same as the highway project between F and G, which is also of the same 30 kilometer. Each project will be unique. That means it differs from each other. But since the investment is very, very high, we say projects are big brother of job subs. So these are the five basic type of processes. When we look at capacity planning, uh, the question is how much capacity we should set up first. Because once we set up the capacity and it is a strategic decision, we have to continue with that for a number of years. If our forecasting is more accurate, then yes, we'll go on meeting the demands of the customers. Otherwise, there will be either overcapacity or undercapacity. So, capacity planning depends on future growth, the expansion, the market trends, and sales forecasting, etc. Now, capacity planning differs from the various, uh, we can say, way the actual world goes on. If there is a stable demand, then we know this is the amount of outputs required to meet the demands of the customer. Here, the capacity planning is easy. But in practical or the real world, the demand is very unstable. It fluctuates very high. So there the capacity planning becomes a tedious job. So companies try to have some extra capacity in their hands so that they can meet the customer demands in time, or any kind of uh, surge in customer demand can also be met with. Now, this capacity affects the cost efficiency of operations. Now, if we are running at a lower level as compared to whatever capacity we have set up, then we may say that our operating cost is getting higher. If we run it at the normal pace, then the operating cost remains normal. The capacity also affects the scheduling system. Uh, Suppose we want to deliver the items to the customer, since the customer have demanded our items, but our capacity is far behind the required needs of the customer. So there what will be happening? The scheduling will be getting negative. That means the delivery system will be getting negative. So here we have to be careful. While setting up the capacity, we have to think carefully because it is a long term capital outlay. It is not every day that we say that today we have set up the factory here, tomorrow we'll close down and break it down the factory and take it to another place. No. Once we have set up the factory, it will run for years and years. Some factory are running from the beginning till now, which are over decades, centuries. So here the ability of the operation manager to meet the variability is of utmost priority. When we are talking of capacity decisions, the operation manager should think how to meet the future demands. If it is increasing, how we can manage with the capacity. If we are having higher capacity, but the demand is there in the market, that means we have to run our production facility at a lower pace. In other words, the net impact of operating cost on the outputs will be higher. Now, the decision, capacity decision is required as huge capital is needed to set up the capacity. Now, in this cutthroat world of competition, In order to counter the competitors, we should always be ready to meet whatever is the demand coming from the customer side. So there you have to think about how much capacity we should be having for the organization. It affects the ease of management. Management cannot say that we have set up the factory, our task is over. No. When we have set up capacity, what is the future trend? When sir in the future we may go for capacity changeover, capacity revamp, capacity expansion, etc. And now in today's globalized world, the need of meeting the customer demands across cutting across the various national boundaries is increasing day by day. So thereby you have to think of the kind of capacity you shall set up, whether you shall expand inside your national border or in international countries, etc. Now, how we can measure the capacity? Before measuring the capacity, we talk about two things. One is design capacity. That means it is the maximum output rate in any given period of time for which the machinery or the worker can perform. Effective capacity, suppose think about a worker. In an 8-hour shift, we may say that since each item takes half an hour to produce, the worker should produce 16 units in a given day of 8 hours or a given shift of 8 hours. But the answer is no. While working for a shift of 8 hours, the worker needs restroom allowances, needs the food allowances, that means lunch, etc., which may take around 1 hour out of the 8-hour shift. So effectively, the worker will be working for 7 hours and producing only 14 items as compared to the design capacity, that is 16 units. Similarly, the machines, they also have downtimes, maintenance times. Those have to be negated from the design capacity so as to find out the effective capacity. When we are calculating the efficiency, we calculate it as the actual output divided by effective capacity. Utilization is calculated as actual output divided by design capacity. So this way you can calculate in percentage terms, and an example is given which you can practice up. So while developing capacity strategies, we think of how flexibility should be there in the systems, what stage of life cycle the capacity is, any surge in capacity, how to meet that, what should be the optimal operating level, and what is going to happen in the future. When is the need for expansion of capacity? So here we talk about actual measured capacity is equal to the real time available into efficiency into utilization. In the previous slide, we have seen how we can calculate efficiency and utilization. So here we have license capacity. That means as decided by authority, how much capacity we can set up. Installed capacity is the capacity of the production facility for which the factory has been set up. Rated capacity is under normal conditions. What is the amount of production that can happen? So we can have long-term capacity strategies as well as short-term capacity strategies. So while performing capacity analysis, we try to benchmark the data. Whatever data we are having regarding the demand and the capacity setup, we benchmark it. We try to focus on the downtimes, why this has happened, how this can be reduced. If there are any process changes due to technical advancement, how we can do that. How can we tap unreached markets? That means unlocking the hidden capacity. And how production can be optimized. So with this, we end our session on this capacity planning. Uh, a slide was there, whereas a small calculation was given regarding calculation of utilization and efficiency. All of us can practice that. We can change the data and have it. So, with this, we end our session. Thank you.